Good evening, everybody. It is 7 p.m. here on the East Coast, and this is another episode of UnHinged here on the Outlaw Sports Network. Two people again on this episode. It's me, as always, Randall Beatley here with my great friend Cody Montanaro. How's it going over there?
It's going good, man. It's going good. I had a great Thanksgiving yesterday. A lot of food, good football. Boys,
let me tell you that
hey,
all those games, but that Cowboy game was really good. The Cowboys game was just a blowout, but
our game wasn't good because it was two shitty offenses that just happened to find some rhythm, and we just happened to score enough points to win. A win's a win, yeah. But I took great pleasure in San Diego destroying the Cowboys in Jerry World. Other than that, it was a really good Thanksgiving, man. How about yours?
It was pretty good. Enjoyed watching Detroit lose. I don't really have anything against Detroit other than they kicked Calvin Johnson out of the freaking league. If he would have actually performed good, he wouldn't have retired so early. But anyway, it's another story.
You got a good point.
And I'll tell you what, that Minnesota team is force to be reckoned with. Everyone's like, "Oh, is Keenum good enough to start?" Obviously, he is because he won like 7 in a row. But what do I know about football?
I'm telling you, every year you just get amazed at the fact that these stories. It's like Case Keenum, like who's this? And then all of a sudden,
you're
9-2 and possibly could get a first round bye.
I don't know. The NFC is going to be a tough conference to play in. As always, the AFC is always going to be the easy ones: Pittsburgh, New England. I would say Houston, but Deshaun, had to.
It's every year. The AFC has got these consistent teams every single year. The Patriots, the Steelers, usually the Ravens or the Bengals or somebody else from the North is in it. The South is always a mess.
Yeah, though the Jaguars are like 7-3.
Yeah, man, the Jags are underrated as hell and are performing great. So but you usually got 2 to 3 teams in the AFC, and it's always coming down to either the weakest division and the 2 wild cards. Whereas the NFC, it's almost every single year we're like, I don't know who's going to play. Your guess is mine.
It's always the East, either the Cowboys destroy everyone or they completely suck ass.
Yeah,
and then there's the Eagles, and then
came out of nowhere.
Then the Redskins either start out really bad or start out and then somehow win 10 straight, or
No. We're like the team that will all of a sudden win 4 or 5 in a row and get the wild card spot, or win the division, or you got the Giants who will win 7 or 8 or 10 in a row and somehow face the Patriots in the Super Bowl and win it. When we're like,
we don't want to talk about that game.
I'm just saying, you got 5 and they've got 2. Like, come on.
I'll forgive you for that, but we're talking college football on this episode. We'll get rid of the long intro there. So it's rivalry week. Except if you're Miami when you play Pittsburgh on rivalry week. But speaking of Miami, down goes number 2, 24-14. As of this season for the college playoff football ranks, couldn't get it even harder to decide. Undefeated Miami goes and loses to Pittsburgh, which, guys, if that means now if Clemson beats them, that's another worthless win now because of that loss to Pittsburgh there today.
I think that Pittsburgh is now Miami's newest rivalry.
Yeah.
Just because of what happened in Pittsburgh.
Let's talk about Pittsburgh 2 years in a row beating a top 4 team late in the season. Last year with Clemson, which I don't want to remember that game, but it is what it is.
It's a blur in my opinion because that helped us spark their national championship run.
And here's the thing that scares me is Miami is going to come off this tough loss as an already aggressive team, even more aggressive against the Clemson team, which offense – the defense I'm not worried about. It's the offense, and that's the constant problem with Clemson is the offense. KB's done okay. If he can work on his accuracy, that'll help. But
I mean, you look at the offensive category, we're 26th in the nation on total offense. And you have to definitely count for the running game because that's a majority part of our team this year. And that's something that the coaching staff had said coming into the season is that we wanted to implement more of the run game because we knew the passing game was going to be a work in progress. And here we are, the 12th week of the season, or the 13th week, however you want to look at it. We're still a run-based team. We're great on the run. We've got 3 weapons with Feaster. We've got ETN, and we've got Kelly Bryant. If you want to add Adam Choice or CJ Fuller in the mix, I mean, we got a 5-headed, 4-headed monster running game there.
I mean, Ray could run some too on the reverses.
Yeah, or the sweeps.
Yeah.
So, I mean, our rushing game is phenomenal. It's probably the best. It's definitely best in the nation. And our passing game, it's just not there.
I think it's what we were kind of assuming it would be, sort of this transitional year before Lawrence comes in next year.
And I'm not going to lie to you. I think that it depends on what Kelly does this year because he's a junior, right? Or is he a redshirt junior?
I think he's a redshirt junior.
So he's not eligible to go into the draft, or he is?
He is.
Okay.
I don't think he will. I think him, Cooper, and Johnson, I think they both transfer, or all 3 of them.
No, I don't see it that way. I could definitely see Zarek transferring. I think Hunter Johnson wants to stay.
Is he a freshman? Or a sophomore? Because if he's a freshman, I think he stays. But
I want to say he's a sophomore. For some reason, the word sophomore is popping up into my head. But you know what? I think he probably enrolled in January.
It's probably what it is.
And that's why I think he's a sophomore because he enrolled so early. Let's see here. He is a – sorry for the delay. Sometimes you don't understand everything. It just happened. He's a freshman. Okay, so he's a freshman. So
he may stay.
He'll be the sophomore while Trevor's a freshman.
I don't think Cooper stays.
I know. I really don't. And
Kelly's Kelly's the sort of – he could stay for his last year. I don't think he will, though.
I honestly think the coaching staff hopes he does because, you know, with all this hype around Trevor Lawrence, you don't want to have that 4-headed quarterback battle. I mean, Kelly will be gone no matter what after 2018. Hunter Johnson is going to be a senior or a junior going into 2018, and I believe Derek Cooper will be maybe a senior or junior.
I think it's a senior.
Yeah. And personally, I think the future for the next 3 years is either going to be Hunter Johnson or Trevor Lawrence. The great thing about that is that you got 2 5-star quarterbacks coming in. Well, one's already here, and the next one will be here next year. If for whatever reason Lawrence doesn't turn out to be what we think, and Hunter Johnson is, we've got Johnson. And if Johnson doesn't turn out to be that strong of a starter, he could be number 2, and we've got Trevor Lawrence. So, I mean, that's a good problem to have, but that's also a little scary one because you don't want these guys to be transferring because you can understand why, but at the same time, you really don't want that to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So with it being rivalry week, we're going to talk about 5 of the rivalry games going on tomorrow. And the way we're going to talk about them is sort of the rivalry itself, how it's perceived, mixed with implications for playoff rankings and stuff like that. So first one's Georgia Tech. Georgia's what? Ranked 8th, 7th. Georgia Tech, not ranked. Still a big rivalry for the state of Georgia. Does Georgia – I guess my question would be, does Georgia run away from Georgia Tech, or is it close like it normally is?
I definitely think the first maybe if Georgia Tech can hang tough in the first couple quarters, it could be a nail-biter all the way through the end. With rivalry games, you can't really look so much at the records just because it's rivalry games. The emotion is so high. The underdogs, as long as they get under the skin of the guys who are supposed to win and get them chirpy and off their game, it definitely can be in for a long night for the team that's supposed to win and the team with the most to lose. The team with nothing to lose, even if they've got 5 wins and want that 6th win, they're going to go all out just because either they want to get in the bowl game or they want to win the state trophy. I do think Georgia wins. I do think it'll be close up to halftime. Georgia makes some adjustments. They'll run away from it late. I'm going to say that this game is going to be a 41-17 Georgia win.
For me, on paper, Georgia's obviously the better team. That doesn't mean they're unpenetrable. Auburn proved that out. I think was it Auburn who beat them? Yeah.
Well, Auburn demolished them.
So if I was Georgia Tech, I'd watch that film a lot. I would have over the last week of preparation. I still think Georgia wins. I think their running game is just phenomenal. Their entire offense is good, and then defense is. That was actually when they were undefeated and they were ranked 1. That was a team I really wanted Clemson to play in the playoffs, just because I mean, we've beaten Alabama before, and the other team at the time was Notre Dame, and no one really wants to play Notre Dame, just because it's Notre Dame. They don't.
True.
But we'll talk about them later. So Georgia. Well, first off, I think we would have destroyed Notre Dame. It would have been close.
If Miami could do it, there's no sense in saying that we could do it. I mean,
and
the offense. It may have been a little bit close just because the offense maybe would take its time, I guess, but at the same time, the defense would have definitely arose. Yeah.
And then again, we've beaten Bama already. I don't want to continue with that. I mean, I would love to beat Bama, but, we've already done it, so I wouldn't take pride in that. We've beaten Georgia before. Didn't we start with them last year? Or was it Auburn last year?
It was Auburn last year. The last time we faced Georgia was a 13-14 season. We beat them in Death Valley in 2013, and then Cole Stout started the season. It was the first game of the season. Cole Stout started, and then Deshaun came in. Did a pretty good job, but we did lose in Athens.
So, plus I just love playing Georgia. I think that's a between-conference rivalry that we don't ever get to play that much.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that for sure. Absolutely.
Plus, Georgia, they're still kind of mad that they didn't get Lawrence. So
we stole Deshaun and we stole Trevor Lawrence for them in their own backyard. So sorry.
But I think Georgia wins. I'll say the score would be like 35-14. I'll go with that. I think Georgia Tech keeps it close in the first half. And like you said, Georgia just gets comfortable and runs away with it.
Yeah.
So the next game, 2 ranked teams in Stanford and Notre Dame. Doesn't really have playoff implication, and the rivalry isn't all that strong. Stanford's always, though, been a thorn in Notre Dame side. So it's still an interesting game to watch. I know with my dad being a Notre Dame fan, it's always these traditional games are games he likes to watch. And that's what this is. It's tradition. I'd consider USC their biggest rival, though. So I would have rather seen them play them at this point in the season instead of earlier. But how do you see this game going? Does Stanford shock Notre Dame? Or
it's a really crazy game to look at. Notre Dame is number 8 in the country, and while that seems a little bit further away from making the playoff because they don't play a conference game, this essentially is their conference championship game. They don't play another game, I don't believe, until
bowl season.
Possibly the playoffs. Yeah, until bowl season. And being number 8, if Georgia loses, if Auburn loses, and now Miami in the picture, man, they could sneak into 4. They could. And that's the scary part is that, and we'll get into this here in just a second with the top 4 ranking. I mean, Notre Dame has to win this game, not only for them for pride-wise and rivalry-wise, but man, this is a game for them that if they win this, there's a chance they could definitely make the playoffs. It's gonna be a dogfight, but I will give the edge to Notre Dame. It's gonna be a close one, and I'm gonna give them a win. 27-21 over Stanford.
Yeah. So I'll tell you this: I've watched quite a few Notre Dame games this year. Again, my dad's a fan, so I watch with him sometimes. One Bush is a great quarterback. I'll say that. But who did they play last week? Was it Miami? No.
Notre Dame or
Yeah, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, they played
Wake Forest. It was
Wake Forest. No, Navy. They played Navy last week.
Navy, that's right.
Yes.
And then So yeah, I get the games. But Navy, first off, Navy's a great team. I'll tell you that.
I agree. I agree.
Ever since they joined the conference and were able to get sort of funding from that conference, for a bunch of players who really don't look towards the NFL draft to continue their future, they give everything. And I really do like that Navy team. And Notre Dame struggled with them. Of course, they got through with the win. And I see it being the same way against Stanford. I just think Notre Dame, they have a top first-round projected offensive lineman in McGlinchey. And then Wimbush at quarterback. I think that's where it's going to go down to is the quarterback battle. And I think Notre Dame has the best quarterback in the matchup. I'll say 27-24. It's going to be close. I think Notre Dame pulls it out. As long as their kicker doesn't pull Kai Forbath and get 3 kicks blocked and miss one. I'm sorry. You don't read.
I mean, he used to be on the Redskins. So
I mean, if you watched yesterday's game, guys, and throughout the season for the Vikings, Kai Forbath has like 12 blocked field goals this year.
Doesn't matter because they're 9-2. So I mean, somehow they don't need field goals to win games.
Exactly. And then Dallas, guys, this real quick, Dallas, the two teams you've played the last 2 weeks, the Eagles and the Chargers, both had their kickers get injured, and you still couldn't beat them.
That's what the sad part is, man. I'm telling you. Cowboys are just a mess. They are a mess this year.
And it's great to watch.
Oh, yeah. Redskins fan, man. Come on. That's basically a Christmas present before Christmas.
Oh, yeah. Because Redskins, I mean, this is their Christmas because, Redskin fans have nothing to look forward to in December. Watch them go and win the division now. The Eagles completely fall apart.
Yeah. Thanks. Hold on one second. I got to plug in this stupid computer. It's literally going to take me 2 seconds. As long as I don't have something up. So hold on one second. You can keep talking, of course, but just hold on 1 second.
So the next rivalry we're going to talk about, probably the one me and Cody know most about because Clemson is our team. Clemson takes on South Carolina Gamecocks in Williams-Brice, Columbia. Clemson being ranked third, and South Carolina somehow getting into the top 25. We'll talk about why they shouldn't be ranked, but first off, I'm not even going to ask who wins because I think that's common sense who wins. I want to talk about these fans coming out of Columbia saying how it's a big conspiracy that they're ranked because the committee wants Clemson to get an easy ranked win to boost their resume. So my question is, does Clemson need help resume-wise to get into the Final Four if we win this game? Or before this game, is our resume right now not good enough to get into the playoff?
The fact that we've got, as of right now, as of this very second, we've got 2 wins over top 25 teams, Virginia Tech and Auburn. Now, Virginia Tech, NC State, Louisville have just been Louisville has been a downside all year, but NC State and Virginia Tech in recent weeks have just slipped, and it's made our resume suck. Virginia Tech, they need a win this week. As long as they get a win, they'll probably move up a little bit, so that'll really help. Beating South Carolina this week, they're 24th. So, I mean, if we beat them, they'll probably will be falling out of the rankings Tuesday, but we would still have another win against a ranked opponent and on the road.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, even if Auburn loses to Alabama, they're going to go to like the 13, 14, 15.
Yeah, they'll still be ranked.
That's obviously our biggest win of the season. And so I don't know. I mean, in Miami, we'll get to them in a minute. It's kind of in the same boat with them because they were ranked number 2, but they've only beaten I know they beat Notre Dame. They're ranked. and they've beaten Virginia Tech, who is, like I said, 25th. So if they fall out, that will hurt them too. So resume wise, yes, doesn't matter. I think so. At the same time, I don't know, because you look at it, Florida, Alabama. The first 3 games, Florida State, Fresno State, Colorado State. Florida State's not who we thought they were, so that's off the resume. They beat Vanderbilt. That's off the resume. Ole Miss, off the resume. Texas A&M, off the resume. Tennessee, Arkansas, off the resume. LSU.
Mercer.
Yeah, Mercer, destroyed them last week. And then they had Mississippi State and LSU back-to-back weeks. And LSU is 18th. Mississippi State is I don't think they're even ranked anymore. No, so I mean they've only beaten LSU, and
really?
That's really their only win this year so far. Until now, they've got Auburn.
And then Auburn, and then assuming they,
of course, the SEC championship game, they got Georgia.
They get Georgia. So.
No, I don't think resume. Wise. There's nothing to worry about. I think we're fine. Just as long as we win. That's really the biggest thing. Just keep winning.
For me, historically, the committee's really, when they looked at resume, it's Clemson beat Louisville while Louisville was ranked, and that's what they look at. And so I think our resume at this second is good enough to get us in. And so for fans in Columbia to say, oh, it's a conspiracy that we're ranked, first off, you're admitting by saying that you're not good enough to be in the top 25. Second, again, this is Gamecock logic here, guys. This will be the biased section of this show. But you're admitting you're not good enough to be in the top 25. Yet at the same breath, you say, oh, we can beat Clemson. Jake Bentley and his cocky fans that he boosts up their cockiness for. First off, let's talk about Jake Bentley. Are you a believer in Jake Bentley? I mean,
the kid has shown flashes of being good. He really has. At the same time, you got to look at it this way. He's a passer first. He's not much of a runner. He can, if you give him time in the pocket. But it's just like, I don't think so. I don't think he's all that there. Now, of course, his top receivers have been out, so, I mean, he hasn't had much to work with. But he's got to show me some more flashes. That's all I mean, because the games that they've won, they've had to use field goals and not a whole lot of offense, and their offense has been slipping the past few weeks. So,
and I'll say, like, the way they've won game, like you said, they've trusted other. I'll say when South Carolina was beating Clemson, they had Connor Shaw at quarterback, and I believe he was an NFL caliber quarterback. Now, of course, Shaw with his injuries.
At the time,
really. But I mean, Connor Shaw was a quarterback that I wish Clemson had. Granted, we had Taj Boyd, so we didn't need much better. Boyd just couldn't beat South Carolina. That was his problem.
That's true.
But I think Jake Bentley, I think for being as young as I think he's a sophomore. He's good, but I think he talks a game to where he thinks he's the best quarterback in the SEC, and he just doesn't reach those expectations. So we get these South Carolina fans who are like, we can beat Clemson. This is a team that's, wasn't projected to win 3 games, and we've won 8. Let's look at their resume. Louisiana Tech, who really cares? It's nobody.
They almost lost to them.
Yeah. Bunch of SEC schools that were mid-50s in the rankings. Almost lost, or they did lose to Kentucky, right? Or did they beat Kentucky?
Yes, they did lose to Kentucky.
Lost to Kentucky, which I'll give you this, Kentucky to. And
They're an underrated team. They're on the rise.
Yeah,
they're an underrated team, though, but
again, it's not a flashy win.
Yeah.
And all they're saying is, oh, you guys think you're so good, but you lost to Syracuse. Let's take a look at that Syracuse loss, though. No Kelly Bryant. Dabo played Cooper, which I think He should have played Johnson, of course. But we'll talk about Dabo here in a second.
Dabo.
We didn't have Kelly because he got knocked out after a helmet or whatever.
He had the bad ankle to begin with, and then he got a concussion and was knocked out for the game.
And so when you have a quarterback like Cooper, who again doesn't get as much, and it to me wasn't the best backup choice, and then you have and also your offense wasn't moving, so you lean too much on your defense. And I'll say if they get past our front seven, our secondaries had instances this year where they looked really weak, especially Tanner Muse. I love the guy. He plays with a club on his head now because he broke his finger. Missed a couple tackles because of it, but
you've also got to take into account we missed 2 field goals in that game.
Yep.
We made those 2 field goals. You know, we
that was after Hugo got hurt, right? It was after Hugo got hurt, right?
Yeah, and if we made those 2 field goals, we win 30-27.
Yeah. So I'm not saying Clemson's. I don't think we're the best team in the country, to be honest.
I would agree with that.
I think we've gotten lucky with Lamar Jackson absolutely sucking in big-time moments and with Francois getting hurt because those were the 2 games everyone was thinking we were
analysts and experts said we were going to
like an 8-9 team.
Possibly 4th in the Atlantic.
Yeah, because they were all the hype was NC State, Louisville, and Florida State.
Exactly right. And, obviously NC State gave us the best game out of those 3, and that's because they had most of their starters, unlike, Florida State and Louisville. I don't know. I mean, they've got a trashy defense, and their offense hasn't been clicking like it did last year. But one thing that I will firmly put behind and that I will stand up for is that we have got a top 5 defense.
Absolutely.
Maybe not statistical-wise. If you look at the statisticals and total defense, whatever, they're the only reason we're even in this position.
I agree. And when you look at our defense and our front 7, basically, our whole front 7's first and second round draft projections.
Absolutely.
So then you throw in Mitch Hyde in there. I think we got great players. I don't think we're a great team, though. There's areas we need to work on. I think because of how young our receiving core is, we got to work on that. We need another tight end because Richard or whatever, number 80, that's what I call him because I don't know his name. Number 80, he's good. Richard, who knows? Number 80 is his name to me. Number 80.
Number 80.
He's good, but he's not Jordan Leggett good where he can.
Bro, we don't have a tight end.
We have
I think our tight ends have caught 2 touchdowns this whole season.
Yeah.
We don't have tight ends.
And as much as I love Renfro, him being the number 1 dude with Deion's played much better this year than the last couple of years. Deion is known for dropping passes that he should catch, wide open passes that he should catch in the end zone. But I love you, Deion. It irritates me. And then Renfro, I think it's more of we just haven't been able to throw the ball to him all that much.
We find him in the biggest moments of games.
Yeah.
When we need him.
I think he's dropped 1 pass all year, and that's it.
He's been overshot, but I think literally 1 pass he probably had and he caught and then he dropped. There's been one of them, but I call him Velcro Man from Sakasti.
Yeah. And then you got to also look, we're more run-based this year. So
absolutely.
We're not going to see Renfro because he plays more of the slot, get the ball as much.
Yeah.
But when we are in that 4th and 1 and we need to win the game, he will be called upon.
He's the man to look for. Yep, absolutely.
Or 4th and 16 because we've done that a couple times.
Doesn't matter what 4th down we're looking to run for.
So projections on this game. How bad did we blow them out?
So
will it be a blowout?
I don't want to say it is. I don't like to be the person. I mean, it's a rivalry week, and I want to beat our rival. 2 years ago, I thought it was going to be a blowout when we had Deshaun and went to Willie B. And
the
offense sputtered, and we just barely won the game by 4 or 3. I do think we win. I do think we'll win 38-28. But let's look at the statistics before we get to the whole shebang.
Yeah.
So points per game, they're averaging 25.
Okay.
This is why I'm saying we're going to win by 10, 30 to 28. They're averaging 25 points a game. We're averaging 35. There's your 10 points right there. Points allowed per game, 13.9 for us. 13.9 in, I like to call the ACC a little bit of the little brother of the Big 12. We do have some good defenses in here, but with like Lamar Jackson and Florida State with Francois, us, NC State, Miami, there's a lot of offense going around there. For us to be holding teams to 13 points a game is amazing. South Carolina has allowed 19 points a game. That's respectable. That's really respectable. But, that's a 6-point spread there. So it's kind of averaging into the 10-point spread because our defense allows less points.
Let me stop you real quick. So people will say, oh, you just said Clemson has only allowed 13 points a game. And they'll throw in, but you've played Citadel and you've played Kent State, which we blew out both teams. Even still, you take away both those games, our average is what, like maybe at most 20 points?
I would say, between 17 and 20.
Even still. And we've played Auburn. We've played Louisville, Florida State, who at the time were top 10 teams.
Yeah.
Florida State,
Virginia Tech, NC State.
So, and then I can also say for South Carolina, they played Wofford last week and almost lost. And they played another LA Tech. I'll give them the respect for their defense, only allowing like 20 points a game. But for them to sit there and say, hey, when you've played two FCS teams,
LA Tech is in the FBS, I believe.
Yeah, they're FBS. But for them saying, hey, Clemson's only played really 10 big games, where the other two were sort of throwaway.
Look at Alabama. They played Fresno State, Colorado State, and Mercer. So I know Fresno State's in the FBS, but it's a throwaway game.
And so you need those games. We can talk about this all night long. We need those games to.
It's just the way the scheduling is. You can't change the scheduling. So
not everyone's going to play a schedule like Notre Dame, where you can play 12 top 25 games if you want to. I would love Clemson to do that, just so we can say, hey, we can beat all you guys. But
that's true.
I think you need Clemson to me needs the two throwaway games just to get reps for other players.
I think everybody does. It gives money to those universities.
Absolutely.
And it helps their athletic and their booster clubs. B, it is what it is. Sometimes you just need those games to.
And it's not like those games are actually throwaway. Look at Liberty beating Baylor this year.
Oh yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly.
Baylor isn't that good, but.
And then who was it that beat UNLV? It was like bigger upsets.
I remember the school name, but Cam Newton's brother is the quarterback. Is all I know.
Let's see. Now you have to look this up.
What I want to say is, if we do play FCS teams, I would like Clemson to start playing some of the top-notch ones, like James Madison and.
It was Howard. That's what it was.
Howard,
it was a 45-point underdog to end UNLV, and they lost. So.
Yeah, so it's not like these games are throwaways. Every game you got to still go out and play. But
exactly.
But anyway, continue what you're saying.
So, total yards, offensive wise, South Carolina averages 352 yards per game. That's really good. No matter how you look at it, if it's SEC, ACC, it's a really good number. I think if you're over the 330 mark, I think you're a pretty decent team. Clemson averages 456, almost 457 yards a game.
Yeah.
That's 104 yards more a game. And here's the reason why. The passing game per average, it's a little bit closer. We average 239, almost 240 yards, whereas South Carolina averages 220. Those 20 yards, I think, make a difference because we just aren't a throwing team this year. And South Carolina is more of a throwing team. Obviously, Bentley's a pocket passer, but he can't get out, and he's a mobile quarterback, can be as well. So that affects it. The rushing game is where this game is going to be won. Who's going to win in the trenches? Can Clemson's defense shut down the run like they probably should and can they hold Jake Bentley to, I think, under 200 yards? If they can do that, I think they win easily. We have 217 yards per game averaging rushing, whereas South Carolina averages 131. That's a huge swing, and that's where mostly our offense is built upon is rushing. The three-headed rushing attack between Etienne, Feaster, and Kelly Bryant, that's going to be the difference in the game. Can any one of those three muster enough yardage running-wise? Can South Carolina stop the run? And if they do, they're going to have to make Kelly throw. And I think Kelly can do it. It's just, I mean, he did it in Louisville. I think we did more passing in Louisville than we did running, and Kelly was doing great. So, you know, it is what it is. And we'll quickly go through the defense real quickly. Passing yards allowed per game. Clemson averages 174 yards per game throwing. That's phenomenal. Yeah. And South Carolina's averaging 222, which I still think is a really good number, 222. Some people may think you're stupid, you're an idiot. I don't know. I think 222 is relatively good, especially for being in the SEC, facing some of these top-tier opponents that do throw the ball often. The rushing yards allowed, Clemson averages 116, whereas South Carolina averages 143. So, I mean, you know, something's got to give there, and I think that our defense overall is just much better. And I think our defense has shown and proven in big games that they're ready for the challenge. It's if the offense can just, you know, take in the crowd noise, let it go out, and then just play ball.
Yeah, I think Clemson. Obviously, our defense is what we've been built around. I think that's the way we wanted the team to be built around. So, like you said with the statistics, doesn't surprise me that, you know, we know Clemson's a running team, South Carolina's a passing team. Who can do what they're good at best, I think, is what will help win the game. They say, oh, we're just going to pass it down. Your secondary is not good. But the problem is we rush 7 almost all the time. And we don't even need to rush 7 because we can rush the front 3 and that's it.
Yeah.
And we still get pressure. Lawrence and Bryant and I'm forgetting, is it Carlos Watkins?
Really, if you look at it, I look at it this way. Dexter Lawrence has been dominant in the run-stopping game.
Yeah.
He's vital to stop the run. When you need that pass rush, Bryant.
Farrell.
Wilkins.
Christian Wilkins, yeah.
You know, that front 3 easily right there.
And then let's just say once you get back if you get by those guys, we got O'Daniel and even some of our
Kendall Joseph will be back.
Kendall Joseph.
So that's a huge piece for us.
And even some of our more second string players, we're deep at linebacker. We've always been deep.
And them playing last week, and they've been rotated in because of the injury, so they've gotten plenty of reps and experience. So this is nothing totally new to them. They're starting to get really comfortable in those positions, and you know, reps are great, and especially in bigger games, reps are great. So we're loaded and deep at defense for sure.
Absolutely. So we'll end this topic real quick. So you did say 38-28. Is that your final score?
Yep, I got 38-28. Orange Paw over that Red Rooster.
I think I'll say Clemson wins. Score-wise, I'm gonna go and say 31. 31-14. I think our defense will hold them. I don't think we'll.
I think South Carolina will get The biggest thing for me is what you saw when they won 5 straight was that we just could not hold on to the ball. We turned that ball over so many times. If we turn the ball over a couple times, I think South Carolina will capitalize on those scores, and I think that they'll muster a good drive here and there on offense.
Yeah,
that will get them to that 28 points. But overall, I think the defense, as long as they're not too tired, they're pretty fresh. I think they're fine. They'll grind it out. If offense just performs 75%, 80%, I think we got this.
For me, what I would do is we're a run team, so let's just run it down their throat. Let's waste time. We don't have to go. We don't have to go out there and prove anything. We've already done all the work. We just got to come in and win.
Exactly.
Same thing against Miami. If their offense is off the field, they can't score. So let's run it down the throat, waste time.
Sure.
The problem is ETN likes to break off 80-yard runs. So
that's true. That's true. You have to pull back the reins.
So I do say 31-14, Clemson winning. But I will say this: if South Carolina starts off hot in the first quarter, we might be in trouble.
If we don't stop them at least the first two series, it could be a long night. It could end up being a shootout. But
yeah, and it's gonna suck that I'm gonna have to record the game. But Starcade's kind of. We'll talk about that as we close.
Fun fact: last year I wasn't even up here for Thanksgiving. I was down in Orlando, Florida, with
what's your face?
The
hoe bag.
the ex, yeah, that girl. And I didn't even get to watch the South Carolina game. And in between me falling in and out of sleep with that 8-hour trip back from Orlando, I looked at the score and it was like 35-0, and I went, well, I think we've won this game. So hey, maybe that's a good fortune to not watch it and they blow them out, and I'm totally okay with that.
All right, so the next game is more of, hey, it's a good rivalry. The game means absolutely nothing, but it's Florida FSU. I think this game will prove what team sucks worse. Florida is absolutely awful. Never seen a team and of course, Chip Kelly's been linked now to probably being the number one option as the coach there. Which wasn't it you who predicted that there, Cody?
What?
So that Chip Kelly would be the coach of Florida.
I said it was a leading cause. Yes, I do believe I said that.
Yeah. So congratulations, you should go sign with ESPN. Don't sign with them because they're probably going to fold in the next 3 years.
Yeah.
But FSU, I don't understand how one player can make the whole team. Francois goes down, and I don't know if it's the whole we're not ready for this, or if he was actually their best player. But how do you see this game going?
I really don't know. I mean, both teams are 4-6. Both teams are just bad. They're just bad. And you look at it, both quarterbacks had between 1,200 to 1,600 yards as throwers. Cam Akers is a hell of a runner. So, I mean, I just think that this game is definitely going to be one of the trenches. Who's going to run the ball better between Florida and FSU? It's a slight edge, but I'm going to have to go with Florida State here. It's going to be a dogfight to the end. I say Florida State's going to win 17-13.
I do second that Florida State wins. I think the one thing Florida State has that they've always had is a great defense. It hasn't played all that well, and I think a lot of that's because
the offense had to rely on it, and they get tired at the end, yeah.
Yeah, they're tired. The offense can't score, so when you're on the field, more of the defense, of course, can't do as much. And even if you do stop them and offense is scoring, I mean, the defense is going to look bad. But FSU, I think, has a really good offense. They're not great, but they're good. They showed some now I think they get that player who was he wasn't suspended during the Clemson game, but that's another team. That's was it Florida State's player who got suspended for head-to-head and then bragged about it walking off the field?
Yeah. He got ejected halfway through the game, and then he was flashing all over social media about that.
Yeah, so, great class you got down there in Florida State. But Federal State, never mind. We won't go there. But I think Florida State wins. But I think that's just to show that Florida sucks. This absolutely is.
Yeah,
absolutely. I've never seen, especially with Florida, a team that 8 years ago with Tim Tebow, they were winning national championships. And I've never seen a team collapse so quickly. Because normally a lot of programs, big players leave, coaches leave, and then slow decline to 0-11. Florida's just, Tebow's gone. We suck.
Pretty much.
And we're not even going to spend time on this because it's so what I think is the most important game of the week. This week, like you were saying to me before we went on the air, this week isn't as important as conference championship games. That next week's going to be the most important in predicting the top four. But this game's pretty important. You got number 1 ranked Alabama playing number 6 ranked Auburn.
Yes, that's correct.
So this is going to be a good game. And let's take a look at this Auburn team.
Look at the Auburn team when we played them compared to what they are now.
They're like 100 times better.
It's amazing.
Like, part of me wants Bama to win so we don't have to play Auburn again. But at the same time, I really want Bama to lose just so badly. That's just, I hate Bama, but everyone hates Bama unless you're a Bama fan. But
pretty much.
And I hate Auburn too because Cam Newton went there. But I'd rather Auburn win than Alabama. I'm making everyone mad in Carolina, right?
Who cares?
It's all right. This is why it's called UnHinged. Who wins this game? How do you see this game playing out?
Oh boy. I think this is going to be a fantastic game. I think Bama is banged up on defense, but they're still.
Isn't this like a 4:30 game? Or is it a night game? Because I know Notre Dame's on and Clemson's on at 8:30. Those are the
two. 7:30.
7:30. Yeah. So those are the two night games.
Bama and Auburn is a 3:30 game.
Dang. That's actually surprising.
I don't understand why you can't flex these games like they do with NFL and just get these things back because it just makes no sense.
Because to me, Notre Dame Stanford should be at 3:30 and
or at least I guess at 3:30 because they're on the West Coast, so we in Stanford. So,
that'll make sense why it's an 8:30 game. Never mind.
So you look at it, Auburn. I compare this game. You can't really compare games because no game is the same. Most people say, and I agree with that. But you have to look at it from an analytical and statistical standpoint. This game reminds me so much of the 2013 Iron Bowl, the famous kick six.
That's one. Yeah.
Auburn was number 4 ranked. Bama was number 1. Now, this was still during the era of the BCS, the last year of the BCS. So take that into mind. But Alabama was a 10-point favorite over Auburn. This year, not as bad. They're only a 4.5 favorite over them. Offensively, they've proven a lot to me that they can go down that field and they can score quickly. Jalen Hurts, 14 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's awesome. Yeah. Harris, the better running back of the group is Harris. He's got over almost 900 yards and 11 touchdowns. Calvin Ridley, still Calvin Ridley. These teams are pretty identical, with Alabama scoring about 41 points a game, Auburn 37, and the points allowed 10 points for Bama compared to 16 for Auburn. They're just so similar. They're really similar, and this game is going to be, I think it'll be great. I think it'll be awesome. It's a winner-take-all matchup. It's going to affect the rankings so big. This has got so much implication on it. As much as I think Auburn will compete and hold their own in this game and really, really prove people wrong and give Alabama all they've got, I just think Alabama is just going to barely pull this one out. I do think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I think that the defenses, while they're good, these offenses are going to show why they're pretty big, why they put up a lot of points on the board. I'm going to go Alabama. I'll go 45-41 over Auburn.
So I was going to compare it to the kick six game. I think special teams will be the most important part of this game. It always has to come down that way. Auburn, Bama was always one of the best games to watch in the college football season. And I honestly don't think there's a rivalry outside of it, present-day rivalry that can draw as big as Auburn-Bama does. Michigan-Ohio State might be close, but both those teams waver year to year.
Yeah.
And then, of course, for me, Clemson-South Carolina is always a good game, but I don't think it has the memories that Auburn-Bama does. You're not going to remember that much unless you're a fan of that team. I'm going to go off on a limb and say that Auburn wins. And I think it's It'll be close. My score will be 35-31.
So literally a 10-point difference between you.
Yeah. The Stidham that played for Auburn, who started Auburn week 1 against Clemson. Was it week 1 or was it week 2?
Week 2.
Week 2. Okay, so Stidham, who started week 2 against I call it week 1 because Kent State's not a real game, but
damn.
Sorry, Dolph Ziggler. I love your alma mater. I love you, Dolph Ziggler, but Kent State sucks. They took their $800,000 and left. But I think the Stidham who started the game against Clemson is 10,000 times better than the guy who we're going to see tomorrow against Bama. And like you said, Bama is banged up defensively. And then I just think special teams-wise, something always goes wrong with Bama special teams. There's always something going on with them. And I just think the defense for Auburn holds out long enough to give Auburn the ball last. I think whoever has the ball last will win the game. And I think that'll end up being Auburn. I think they go down and score a touchdown late in the game. And that's the way I'm going to hold it again, 34-31.
I think the biggest key guy you got to look for, and my apologies for kind of overlooking this because I was just kind of going about it too quickly. Kerryon Johnson for Auburn. This dude has got almost 1,200 yards on the ground, almost 400 yards more than Alabama's leading rusher. 16 touchdowns. He has as much touchdowns as Stidham has throwing.
Yeah,
this guy's a touchdown.
Beast.
Yeah, so it's going to be a tough matchup for Bama's depleted defense to see if they can just survive. If they could just lower him to 130 yards, I think that's a win for them. Maybe 110 yards. I think that's a win for them.
Yeah.
And to see if they can just at least keep him off the board. If they can hold him out of the end zone, Alabama's got a really good chance of winning this game. But like I said, I think it's going to be a shootout all the way.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are the sort of, in our opinion, we discussed this before we went on air because, we want to plan things out. But those are our 5 games that we thought were most important rivalry-wise. We got other games that are big across the nation that, like we said, Michigan, Ohio State's a big rivalry, but no one really cares about those 2 teams anymore. So the question is, in your opinion, what is the top rivalry in college football, and why? I'll let you start.
As much as I want to say Clemson, South Carolina, it is the second longest and continuant rivalry of college football. Auburn, Alabama just gives it that feel of something big is going to happen in this game every single year. It keeps me tuning in every single year. Even if it's Clemson's on, I'll flip back and forth between the Gamecocks and Tigers and Auburn and Alabama. So I say Auburn, Alabama. They just give us a lot of their games just seem to mean a lot more, have a lot more at stake. And because they're in the same division in the same conference, it only makes it even better that when these games come down to late November and it's a must win, and the winner usually moves on to an SEC title game and a forefront in the CFP. That to me, I think is why it's the best rivalry in college football. So
I got 2. I'm going to go my number 1 team is the traditional pick, but I will go in the present day. It is, to me, is Auburn, Alabama for the same reasons you said. I think that game always has some implication, even if Auburn. I remember one year, I think it was a couple of years ago, Auburn was like 3-8 coming into this game, and everyone's still talking about, Auburn can upset. That's how big this means to everyone. So I think that's the top rivalry present day in terms of big-time games. But I think rivalry-wise, I don't think there's any other game that beats the Army-Navy game. Granted, it's not this week. It's always next week.
Yeah, it's usually during –
it's the bye week between the last regular season and the conference championship games.
Yeah.
So they get the NBC by themselves. They don't have another game on, so everyone will be watching that game.
Usually it's on CBS, I think.
CBS,
actually. Yeah. Usually it's on CBS.
I forgot it. NBC is Notre Dame only.
That happens.
I forgot it. Notre Dame has to be honoring, keep an entire network for themselves. But anyway, so yeah, I think Army Navy just because that's tradition. I've watched the last 20 of them ever since I was born, and I like Navy's team. I think Navy's the better of the two teams, but I just like the Army. I just like Army's uniforms or everything. Army completely sucks in football. They have they somehow have money to
fund the football team.
Fund football and again that's an awesome game. That
what was it like? Don't both these teams run the option? I know Navy does.
Yeah. Navy's become more advanced, but they still run the option. Army's full option. I remember playing when the college football was a video game, being Army, and I was like, I can't run this offense. I got to change it. Just completely They don't really have a quarterback. And in essence,
just there to hike the ball and pitch it.
Yeah, you pitch or you run.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great rivalry. I do agree with that. Didn't really think about it, to be honest with you. Every year, if it's on TV, I'll tune in just because it just means a lot to both of those schools and both of them. To honor the military as well, it's really awesome and really special. Last year, Army won, and broke that streak. I forgot how long it was, but just to see the reaction of the cadets and stuff like that of winning that game and what it meant to them. But at the end, both teams, while at the end of the day it's a game, and rivalry means something, and winning over that means something. It's just a little bit more because of the military aspect. So,
absolutely. And again, you're watching people who aren't just football players in that game.
Exactly.
They're going on the next 4 years after college to serve the country, and so to them, it's more of bragging rights more than hey, we're going to the playoffs. It's hey, we just beat Navy. Because while they are brothers in arms, when war breaks out, the Army hates the Navy, the Navy hates the Army.
Yeah, but you got those branches in the military that will say, "Oh, they're a bunch of pansies." What are you talking about? So that's really cool to see, and funny how.
But yeah, at the end of the game, though, they'll stand hand in hand as brothers in arms, and so
it's really cool that while they're really focusing on their schooling and their duty on serving our country. It's good and awesome for about 4 hours, 5 hours out of their lives while serving our nation to just be entertained and to be having fun and just letting loose and it's really cool to see that.
And then, that's some of the hardest shit in football you ever see too. Just
you ain't kidding. You ain't kidding. There's some big boys and some men that grow up on that field.
Yeah, especially when you get the Navy SEALs that end up. Or the Marines that are Navy SEALs, and so they're on the Navy team who they don't know what pain is.
No, they don't.
So they be hitting hard. It's always a good football game to watch.
They hit hard.
So now we get to the point Cody's been dreading, and that's predicting the top 4 after this week. Of course, these projections, again, mean absolutely nothing. The one that means the most is after conference championship games. So I'll hand the mic over to you, Cody. Pronounce your top 4.
Well, it got a lot easier after doing these predictions for me, so it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So for my top 4, it's kind of the conservative top 4, but once again, like you said, these are just projections for next week where conference championships is where it's going to matter. My top 4, Alabama, Clemson, Oklahoma, and Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin. I just think that they all move up, and Auburn's number 6. They'll lose. Number 7 is we just talked about this. Who's number 7? With Georgia, they'll move up to I think 5, and then number 6 is just a crapshoot behind them. If Notre Dame wins, they'll probably go up to number 6. They could possibly take over number 5 because they're beating a ranked Stanford team. So, but I do think that non-conference thing will hurt them. And especially that big, huge loss to Miami.
Absolutely.
That changes everything too. So, but I'm going to go Alabama, Clemson, Alabama, Clemson, Oklahoma, Wisconsin.
All right, so I got 2. And that's because, to me, Auburn, Alabama is the biggest game to determine this. So if Auburn wins, which, like I predicted, I got Clemson, Oklahoma, Auburn, Wisconsin, with Alabama being 5. And then if Alabama wins, it's the same as you: Alabama, Clemson, Oklahoma, Wisconsin. And I only have Wisconsin in here because Miami lost today.
Yeah, and they're just going to basically be moving up.
And I think the only reason they'll get in is we're undefeated. We're in this position to win. I don't think record matters anymore. I've debated this so many times. Record doesn't matter anymore in the non-computer-based, committee-based selection, which looks at the more in-depth things like strength of schedule, where Wisconsin doesn't have that. But because of where they are, they're just going to get lucky and then be moved in.
Now, I will say, if Notre Dame blows out Stanford, blows them out like Miami blew them out,
yeah, they might.
That could be tough. That could be tough if they move into the 4th spot, or if Georgia obliterates. I think Wisconsin has a pretty close win, and
I think they're playing Minnesota this week. So
yeah, and if they just kind of look shaky and don't really win, I think Wisconsin is a 17.5-point favorite over with Minnesota. If it's a shaky and close game and Georgia blows out Georgia Tech and Notre Dame blows out Stanford, you really got some screwed up situations there.
I think the top 3 are sort of settled. It'll be Clemson, Oklahoma, then the winner of Auburn, Alabama.
Yeah.
And then number 4 is that last spot. Everyone's fighting for. At least 4 teams have resumes to get into it.
I agree. And
I honestly think this top 4 is the closest it's ever been. The first year, we already knew the top 4 about 3 weeks before it was released. So it was like, there's not enough. But now you actually get to see the type of football you have to play to get in. And then you get teams like Notre Dame who don't have conference games, but they've played great football this year.
And then you've always got that ever-longing problem of if two teams from the same conference could get in. Now, next week we'll determine that no matter what. Even if Auburn gets in and faces Georgia, one of those teams is going to be out no matter what.
That was the thing I was looking at. If Alabama wins, but say by 3 points, can Auburn still sneak in to number 4 over Wisconsin? Or
I don't think so.
That's the thing.
I just don't think so.
And if Auburn wins, does Alabama stay in the top 4?
That's the
only possibility. That's a possibility. They could be 3-4 with Clemson, Oklahoma being 1-2.
But then your only problem after that is you go to the SEC title game and it's Auburn versus Georgia.
And then if Georgia wins, you don't understand this. I would hate to be on this committee.
And also you got to look at it. As much as I believe and hope we'll be in the top 4, if Miami beats Clemson next week, even though Miami will probably be down to number 6, number 7, number 8 next week.
Absolutely.
If they win, I think they have a good enough resume to get into to at least number 4.
Yeah. Clemson doesn't have an easy road ahead of them at all. They're 1-2 right now, depending on Alabama. They're 1 or 2. But if we can't put South Carolina away in blowout fashion and lose to Miami, or if we barely beat Miami, there's chances we could be 3 or 4.
Absolutely.
So, I would say at least 9 teams that are championship caliber teams. It's closest we've ever seen.
I agree. It's insane. It really is.
I think this season is reason enough to not expand it next year, but to start the talks on expanding it to 6 teams. I
do believe when they first did this, I don't remember if it was a 3-year or 4-year thing where they could realign the change. If they wanted to, they could expand it or something like that. I thought it was 3 years, so after this season, they could say, you know what, let's move it to 6. Let's move it to 8.
Yeah.
See how that works for 3 years, because it's an every 3-year change where the committee will come together and say, what do you think we should do? So
I would say this. Just move it to 6 for the next 3 years to see how that works out. So I think 8 could still be too much for right now.
I think it could. I think we'll try the 6 system and see if that makes it better.
Even at 6, you can give the first 2 bye weeks, give them something to play for to be the top 2 seeds, and then you have that bottom 4 that you're trying to play in to get into it. because even like a team like Penn State's a great team. They just got blown out one weekend. Was it against Michigan State and then Ohio State that they lost?
They got blown out by Ohio State won by 1, and then they lost to Michigan State by 3.
Yeah, so losses of that total 4 points, and that's what's going to keep Penn State out. And I think they got one of the best offenses in the country.
And both of them were on the road too, so that wasn't even at home. So it's close.
It's again, to me, they were my champion contenders. Barkley's a freaking beast at running back. Wish there was a way the Patriots could get him, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah. We'll see. It's going to be an interesting weekend.
Absolutely. So before we leave, check on the Outlaw Sports Network page for updates at Starrcade tomorrow. Being that it's not going to be aired, first off, I just want to ask you this question before we get off. Is it a problem to you that they aren't airing Starrcade live?
100% absolutely yes. If you're going to do the specials on the network for house shows like they did the Beast in the East, I think that was in Tokyo they did that. And then they did the Madison Square Garden show. And then they basically said in between WrestleMania season in 2016, yes, last year, they created a roadblock up in Toronto and said, hey, let's just create a special on the network and we're going to show it. So if you're going to name these house shows, I feel like you should, show them on the network.
I think my biggest problem is they named it WCW's biggest event, and they aren't going to air it.
Exactly. Yep.
I would be fine if they did something like a Halloween Havoc on Halloween and make it a house show, and not air it. Now, with Starrcade, again, it's the WrestleMania of WCW. So that's the only problem I really have. I think their rationale is, it's a special. We want you to buy ticket. If you look at ticket prices, they were expensive.
I even got an email from the Greensboro Coliseum saying how badly they think traffic's going to be to get inside the arena because they think it's going to be pretty sold out because they weren't. It wasn't like Raw or SmackDown where you're just buying lower level and maybe some of the upper deck. The whole arena was now open for tickets. So I think it'll be packed tomorrow.
I think my biggest problem also was the timing of the event. WrestleCade is this weekend up in Winston-Salem.
Yeah.
And I really think WWE was trying to compete like they did in San Antonio with ROH of drawing fans from those events.
Once they see another promotion getting some good numbers for something like that, they'll try to shut it down automatically. And I think that's ridiculous. But
yeah, I want to know how Ric Flair is going to work out being at WrestleCade. And
I think he's there for the signing, so I think that takes part in midday. And I believe Winston-Salem is only 30 minutes away from Greensboro, so
I'm sure he could fly if he really needed to. But
I don't know why he would have to fly, but he can take a helicopter ride, I guess. But
WWE can get him there. But
we'll post this on the Facebook page. But look out for anybody that's going to Starrcade. Look for this sign.
Where's the fun thing pie? We just got done with Thanksgiving, so that's the best type of pie all weekend, right, guys?
This was made by Sir Randall over there for last year in Greensboro for Raw, and we showed that sign, and so we'll be having that sign up there tomorrow night. We'll be on the floor, which is cool, but yeah, we'll do maybe a Facebook Live. Will Carter, he's done a couple of podcasts with Enziguri Mania. He's also been a part with me for Markout Mania, which I know we haven't been doing those a whole lot, but we'll hopefully be getting some more of that content out. But Will be there tomorrow night, so we'll do a Facebook Live and kind of do just a whole get-together and kind of show the inside looks at the arena, at the crowd, and where our seats are, and definitely post some photos throughout the night for sure.
And if things kind of work out, maybe we can go live at the end to express what we thought about it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That could be way too together.
Depending on where Will parked, hopefully we park near each other. I don't want him to have to walk across the entire property, though.
Hey, even if we did it last year, that wasn't that bad of a parking spot. It wasn't that far to walk. It's just I did leave my phone on top of my car, and somehow it didn't get stolen. Thanks to the good citizens of Greensboro for that.
Tell you what, Greensboro is some nice people. But
nice fellas over there.
But yeah, if you're going to, I'm on to call it WrestleCade. Never mind. If you're going to Starrcade, see y'all there. If not, sorry, you won't be able to see this beautiful event. I'm ready to see the Rock and Roll Express face the club. Not really, but I don't even know if that's on the card still because it wasn't on the thing they released.
As far as I know, it still is. I guess we'll find out tomorrow night.
That's
Two steel cage matches. That's gonna be cool.
Yeah, you'd see Bobby Roode lose. I mean, beat up Ziggler. Oh, damn.
Get to see the glorious one. You get to see Shinsuke Nakamura wrestle, so that would be cool.
Absolutely. Be just like SmackDown, except we might be able to see just a tad bit better. Maybe not. We'll see.
We'll see for sure.
But yeah. So look for us there. Again, thank you guys for watching Unhinged here on the Outlaw Sports Network. And this is Rhino Beatley, and we are ending the show. Thanks again for watching.